Ladies and gentlemen, Governor Mike Huckabee.
Well, Rush Limbaugh has been getting a lot of attention because of his speech at last week's Conservative Political Action Conference. But I want you to know he wasn't the only star speaker at CPAC. 14-year-old Jonathan Krohn of Atlanta wowed the crowd with his stirring speech.
I want you to understand, I want the American people to understand, that conservatism is not an ideology of feelings or romanticism, as some people like to say. It is an ideology of protecting the people and the people's rights.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jonathan Krohn. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey.
Great to have you here. Have a seat. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Okay. You're really not 14. You're 32 years old, and you just look 14. Is that the deal?
No, I'm really 14. Actually, I just turned 14 the day after CPAC ended. So
Did you really?
I'm just a new 14-year-old.
If we'd have known that, we'd have had a big cake and all that stuff. You were terrific at CPAC. People loved you. You have such an ability to articulate your message. And I think it's pretty stunning to see somebody of your age who has even thought about what it means to be a conservative.
Well, I think that there are actually a lot more of us out there, except the problem is that there are those in the media who choose not to look at that. They choose not to look at those of us who are out there trying to make a difference. And on top of that, a lot of them don't articulate it because they're put down by not only the media, but their peers and other people who say they can't vote, they can't make a difference. And I think that's the problem. I think that the reason I've become so articulate and become so out there is that I've had encouragement by my parents. That is key to anybody's success. Encouragement by the people close to them, especially when you're young, your parents. And number two, I think it's important and key to why I'm articulate, is that I've noticed that there are so many people older than me who don't even get out there and they don't understand what they're talking about when they mention conservatism.
Well, do you watch the news a lot? How is it that you come by your political views and your ideological perspectives?
I got involved because I started listening to politics and starting to watch what what conservatives had to say, what political pundits had to say, and what everybody was starting to say. I noticed who was a conservative, who was a liberal, and I started understanding things based on my own intuition and based on my own principles instead of what somebody told me to do. That's why
if I were to ask you, what is the heart of a conservative? What is the essence in a very, very brief way? What would you give me the summation as being?
4 basic principles: respect for the Constitution, respect for life, less government, and personal responsibility.
That pretty well covers a good idea of a conservative. Congratulations. I wish you would teach some of the other conservatives who think they are for that.
Yeah, well, I think that that's part of the problem. I really do. I think that that's part of the problem. There are so many people out there who claim to be conservatives, and so many people who say that they promote conservative values, but they don't understand what conservatism is. They're just going by they're going by policy. They're going by either that or a romanticized view of government, a view that the government's there to help you. It's never there to help you. It's been there to protect you and protect your rights.
Well, Jonathan, I tell you what, we have a segment on our show. We call it the Hot Seat. Now, what I'm going to do is see if you will be willing to be with me during the Hot Seat segment when we come back in just a moment. So, are you game for that?
I'm game if you're game.
I am more than game for that.
Right.
I love sharing the heat. And later, Gary Sinise on an important new film called Brothers at War. We'll be right back. Good job. And welcome back. I'm glad that Jonathan Krohn is on the right team. He's going to be joining me in the hot seat. I want to remind you that he has a book. You know, not many people when they're 13 write a book. Not many people when they're 50 write a book. So anyway, Jonathan has a book, and you can get it at defineconservatism.com. Defineconservatism.com. And the name of the book is Define Conservatism. Jonathan Krohn. Outstanding. And you have agreed to be on with our 2 panelists for the hot seat.
I hope it's going to be as hard as you can throw at me. So
I'm sure it will.
I'm going to do my best. I'll do my best.
Today we have Kirsten Powers, Fox News Channel political analyst, and also Julie Menon, who is the board member for the Women's Campaign Forum. First of all, thank both of you for being here.
Thanks.
Now, we're going to make sure that Jonathan knows how we sort of run the show, so I'll let you throw the question.
This is very intimidating.
I know, you brought out your secret weapon today, I see.
I'm pretty sure that I'll be canceled in a few weeks, and Jonathan will have a show on Saturday and Sunday nights. Okay, fire away. I have a question. So, Take one at him.
Let's talk about Rush Limbaugh, because you were at CPAC, and obviously Rush Limbaugh was a very powerful speaker there, got a great reception. Do you think that he's the de facto head of the Republican Party, and is that a good thing?
Well, I just think in many ways, first of all, that the liberal media, and especially Barack Obama himself, have been targeting Rush Limbaugh for their own political gain as the head of the Republican Party. I think that's the main problem, first of all, we have to address. Second of all, I don't think Rush Limbaugh's the head of the Republican Party for another reason. Michael Steele's the head of the Republican Party. I think Rush Limbaugh is there as a leader, but not the leader. I think he's there to promote conservative values. I think he's a head leader. But the thing, I think Michael Steele understands this, and I know he understands this. As leader of the Republican Party, he understands that he can't lead by himself. He has to have other people by his side who are going to help him out. He has to have the Rush Limbaughs, the Sean Hannitys, the Michelle Bachmans, and he has to have everybody out there to help him.
He's a very powerful debater. Now, why do you think, though, that Michael Steele... Why do you think that Michael Steele had to apologize? No, we're not conceding yet. But why did he have to apologize? Within 51 minutes of making comments against Rush Limbaugh, we saw Michael Steele out there apologizing right away.
Well,
why do you
I think
that
he understood that the liberal media and Barack Obama himself would take it into the context that there was a battle would try to make it as a conflict between the Republican Party and another end of the Republican Party. They try to make it as the Republican Party is imploding. And that's not what the Republican Party was doing.
Do you listen to Rush Limbaugh?
Every now and then.
Do you think he's somebody who should be the sort of face of the Republican Party if he's not the leader?
I don't think he is the leader. I think he should be I think really Rush Limbaugh's part is to be promoting conservative principles, promoting conservative views, and promoting what the conservative movement has been out there to promote from day one, principles and philosophy.
Well, let's talk for a minute about an issue that's on everyone's mind, which is stem cell research. The president's about to lift the executive order. Governor, what do you think about that? We have basically 500,000 embryos in IVF clinics all throughout the country that are going to get discarded. Why shouldn't we use those for medical research?
The real tragedy is that the issue was so politicized, and to some degree by both sides, but especially by the Democrats who accused George Bush of saying that we couldn't do stem cell research. That wasn't true. The only thing he restricted was federal funding for embryonic stem cells. Stem cell research has continued on. In fact, he's put more money into it. But it was really more about making sure that you didn't use federal funds to destroy an embryo. Let me show. I've got a picture in my wallet, and I'm going to show it to you because it's the picture of a little girl in Seattle, Washington named Alicia Lancaster. I've carried it in my wallet for 2 years. This is Alicia when she was 4 years old. She was a frozen embryo. She was frozen for over 5 years. She was implanted in her mother, Maria Lancaster, in Seattle. I met this little girl when I was up there, and her mother gave it to me as a reminder that embryos, frozen embryos, are not just blobs of tissue. This is a real human being. And I carry this as a reminder that when we start experimenting with embryonic stem cells, we're really talking about creating a life to destroy it. And look, I really have great respect for people who want to cure every disease, and I want to see it too. But umbilical cord research with stem cells, there are a lot of ways that don't involve the destruction of a life, and I would like to focus there.
I mean, I think there's this whole conversation about we need to focus on the science, but then everybody wants to ignore the fact that adult stem cell research actually has already provided a lot of solutions as well.
It's not as effective, and it causes some tumors and cancer. I mean, it really is.
It's actually not true. And I think that there's, if you want to be really truly scientific about it,
now we're going
you have to look at. No, I mean, placenta research as well. I mean, there's a lot of other things that you can do if you are somebody
But it has been shown that it does cause
we need to do a whole show, but they're telling me that we've got to wrap. And I'm disappointed because you were great. You did a terrific job.
Thank you.
You scared them to death.
I'm going to be governor one day.
I would love for us to continue that discussion, and maybe this week will give us the opportunity to do it. Well, coming up, he was Lieutenant Dan in the Oscar-winning movie Forrest Gump. He's just produced a touching documentary on the true story of brothers at war. Gary Sinise is next.